Today we are driving the new 2026 BMW M2 CS. This starts just under $100,000. It's available with the 8-speed automatic only, and it has more power. 523 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. It's also 100 pounds lighter than the standard M2. BMW has improved the steering. They've added a bunch of carbon fiber bits inside and out with this M2. We get some pretty predictable CS treatment with the interior. Carbon buckets, carbon center console, CS badging in the door panels. It all looks very familiar to what we've seen with the M3 CS, etc. But this looks and feels very special in here. I'm going to give you guys some first driving impressions on our route today. We are out here at the Laurel, Michigan Proving Grounds out here in South Carolina. We're going to be drifting this around on track, driving it on street, doing an autocross, doing a lot of different activities with this M2. I think all of which are going to be a little bit wet and greasy. So we'll have some fun in this car today. This video is all about our first street driving impressions. Normally this would come on a Michelin Cup 2 or a Trofeo RS tire, but today we are on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, much more appropriate for the conditions. We have carbon ceramic brakes, carbon fiber mirror caps, carbon roof, look at that. A ducktail spoiler, look at that, that's a ducktail if I've ever seen one. Carbon fiber rear diffuser, supposedly the same exhaust system that's in the standard M2. It sounded great, so if it's not broke, don't fix it. These beautiful wheels. They've tweaked the suspension a little bit. It's slightly lower, 0.2 inches lower. We have improved cooling in the front bumper, less grill slats to get in the way. They've kind of tweaked the front end a little bit too. I think it looks better. I was never a huge fan of the way the standard M2 looked. I felt like it was having an allergic reaction to something, and this just looks a bit more aggressive. The stance is perfect. The wheels look amazing. I like the balance of the front arrow with the rear ducktail. I think it's a nice, classy look. We also have a carbon fiber rear trunk. Look at that. Very sexy, very nice. The M2, of course, is highly practical. You could daily drive this. You could use it as a family car. There's room in the back for your small friends or children. Let's take a look at this 3-liter twin-turbo inline-six, the S58. Look at that. A little bit more power, a little bit more torque. Curious to feel this state of tune in the M2 CS. Word on the street is that it feels a little bit underrated. So I think it's going to make some really good power. Here's a look at that carbon fiber roof. There's no graceful way to get into these bucket seats, but once you do, there's a lot of adjustability. I've found them to be pretty comfortable for my 5'10" frame. I'm about 150 pounds. You can adjust the side bolsters. Driving position is excellent. Steering wheel comes right to my chest. You can get nice and low in the cabin with these seats. And then the carbon fiber everywhere. It just looks amazing in this M2 CS. There's even CS in the door panels here. Kind of a light up flashing logo. That's neat. Again, carbon fiber everywhere. This starts at about 100 grand and you can option it up from there. Carbon ceramics are extra, and I'm sure there's some other stuff. Let's hop behind the wheel. Let's take this out on the road and we'll go for a drive and give you guys some first impressions. I have my heated steering wheel turned on, my heated seat turned on. We have iDrive 8.5. Really the most frustrating thing with this new iDrive system is just getting everything set up initially. And then once you do, it all works pretty well, but it is just a complicated, convoluted infotainment system with a lot of deep menus. But again, it's all about that initial setup. Once you get this car catered to your custom settings, etc., you're going to be okay. Let's see what we have for drive modes here. So it looks like M1 is everything in Sport Plus. M2 turns off DSC and puts us into Sport. Honestly, right now, I'm just going to leave everything in comfort and efficient. We've got the exhaust valve open. Let's start off like this and we'll ramp it up from there. Hopefully this gate doesn't close on me. There we go. BMW has supplied us with a route. PS4S has put their power down beautifully in the wet. It's cold out today, 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Getting a little bit more texture through this wheel in the M2 CS. That was one of my main complaints about the standard M2, is that the steering was a bit numb. 8-speed auto tuning seems to be mostly the same. Let's put us into our most aggressive shift mode here. We've got adaptive cruise control. Look at this! What is this? Following distance buttons. Thank you, BMW. And a gauge cluster illumination switch. We can change the brightness of our screens and everything at night. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. Is there a quick access button for our safety systems? Let's find out here. I think we have something. Let's see. We have displays, personal assistant. Let's see, live vehicle driving settings. Let's turn off lane departure warning. We don't need that. And we'll go back into CarPlay. A little bit more road noise, NVH. Again, they've taken 100 pounds out of this car. A lot of that is just down to the carbon fiber bits. The seats weigh a lot in the standard M2. These are much lighter weight. We have carbon fiber on the paddle shifters. Brakes feel good. And we might turn traction control back on. There just isn't a lot of grip out today. It sounds good. To be honest, I'm a little bit bummed that this is automatic only. It would be really sweet to get a manual gearbox in this M2 CS. I feel like there's another level of involvement granted with that 6-speed manual that you just don't get here with the 8-speed auto, even though it is an excellent transmission. This drive is mostly just us getting acquainted with the car, getting some first impressions here. When you're driving all day on a racetrack, pushing the limits, it's hard to kind of get an idea of what a vehicle's like to live with and experience and feel out. And we're going to be doing some high-performance driving all day long later on in some future videos, so stay tuned for those. But today, let's give you some just standard road driving impressions. We'll have some bumpier sections of pavement coming up, but initially, this seems to ride pretty well. It's not too stiff, not too punishing. This isn't the smoothest section of back road, and it feels pretty good. Let's come down from speed and just go through the gears here in normal mode. There's a lot of torque, a lot of power here. I like that with BMW's transmissions, when you hold the left paddle, it'll downshift to the lowest possible gear. Overall power here doesn't seem as aggressive, as hardcore as the M3. Maybe it's traction conditions today. We can't just put it all down, but it doesn't seem to hit as hard, as immediately as the M3 competition, even though our numbers aren't too far off. All right, we've got our dampers in comfort, engine in sport, steering in sport, and brakes in sport. A little bit more initial bite here with our sport brake setting. The steering feels good too. It's not too weighty. One thing BMW's done in 2025, 2026 is they've lightened up their steering racks a little bit, and they seem so much sharper. Maybe there's a little bit more feedback too, especially in this CS, but I'm talking about M3, M2, M4. All these cars have seen lighter steering racks in the last model year, and I actually really like the way they feel. Part of it could be a bit of placebo with this new flat bottom Alcantara steering wheel, but it's just a really satisfying steering weight that feels solid but very communicative. Right now I'm getting a ton of road texture through this rim on this M2 CS. Later on, when we're pushing this car on track, I'll let you guys know what steering feels like. But on initial impressions, this car's talking to me a lot more than the standard M2, which is a good thing. The gearbox can sometimes be a little bit lazy on its downshifts, but upshifts are bang on. Just about half throttle there, snapping into the next gear. I like the graphic you get when getting close to red line. It is properly quick. A lot of performance here. Super smooth shifts in automatic mode, and of course you can ramp up that gear change level of aggression right here with this button. We're on the second setting right now. All right, some bumps here. Comfort suspension feels great, really compliant, very well damped. I never drove the previous generation M2 CS. I heard it was a little bit softer. I don't think this is softer than the standard M2. It's a little bit stiffer, if anything, but it seems to work really well with the chassis tuning they've achieved here. All right, so those are some quick street driving impressions. Drives pretty much how I expected it to. It's still comfortable. There's maybe a little bit more NVH in here due to less sound deadening, less weight, more aggressive tires. But overall, it's a very nice car that feels special with all of the carbon fiber, the Alcantara, this treatment, the extra bits that they've added to this CS. I think definitely add up to a nicer initial impression of the car. And seat of the pants feel behind the wheel, it feels good. It's a little bit sharper. There's more steering feel. Everything is a little bit more sharp and immediate without being uncomfortable or too aggressive. It's a nice balance that BMW has achieved with this M2 CS. Since the drive route and the conditions today don't warrant a ton of performance driving, let's head out on track and give you guys some quick driving impressions of this M2 CS at the limit. And then we'll come back with some final thoughts. All right, so what are we feeling with the M2 CS? We are limited with outright grip today just due to the conditions, but the car feels very stable at speed. Extra aerodynamics, the lowering springs, the tires on here today all add up to make a really nice package at the limit. These PS4S tires are gripping really well on the cold, wet temperatures. Brakes feel good, easy to modulate. Steering is nice and light. We're in comfort mode. I'm still getting a decent amount of feedback here at the limit, pushing a lot harder than we did on the street earlier. Stability control system is keeping us really well in line. And the S58 sounds fantastic. Seats are just phenomenal on track. This is the only seat option for the M2 CS, and I really do like the way they feel on road and on track. There's lots of adjustability where you can get yourself nice and comfortable, nice and low in the cabin too. This car's super flat around a corner on turn-in. That's what you feel with the M2 versus the M3 and the M4s. It's just a little bit more nimble and willing to rotate. This new M2 is a lot more stable than the previous generation, so still feeling really buttoned down here with the chassis and the stability, even though we are in some pretty sketchy conditions right now. Engine tuning, transmission tuning, all feel great in their sport modes. Something that I am pleasantly surprised with the CS, at least compared to the last M2 manual that we drove, is the throttle tuning is much more linear here. I have much better throttle control at lighter inputs than I did with the standard M2. On those tires around this high-speed corner. Super adjustable on and off throttle. I do love driving in the rain. It's a bit more fun and exciting. All right, so let's wrap up with some street driving impressions on the M2 CS. This drives about how I expect it to. I think the big surprise and the nicest thing about this M2 CS is the improved steering feel. I'm just getting a little bit more road texture and feedback through this rim. I like the interior treatment that they've done here. All the carbon fiber looks amazing. There's still great tech. You still get adaptive cruise control with a speed limiter, and you can change following distance settings. The ergonomics in here are some of the best from BMW. I like that they've retained some of these physical controls, even though we're still running iDrive 8.5, which is a pretty attention-heavy system. I'm comfortable. Aside from maybe just a little bit more NVH, the ride quality is excellent. Granted, we aren't on the standard Cup 2 tires, but these PS4Ss drive great today in today's conditions. They're not too loud, they still feel sharp, and they can put their power down in cold, wet weather incredibly well. I like the seats. They look super aggressive and kind of scary before you get into them, but once you're into them, you're just getting very well bolstered, very well hugged by all of their bits. They're highly adjustable. You can change the side bolsters, you can change their seating position, the height, the rake of everything. There's a lot of adjustment to make yourself comfortable in whatever size or frame you are as a driver. Been behind the wheel for about 45 minutes and I feel great in this seat. I think it's actually a really nice seat for track driving and for long distance or daily commuting. Just a little bit tricky to get in and out of, but honestly, not the end of the world. Honestly, 8-speed automatic tuning here feels about the same as the standard M2. No major changes from what I can tell. There's definitely more torque here, more outright power. We're having trouble putting it all down today, but this does feel like a faster M2. It doesn't hit as hard, doesn't feel as aggressive as the M3 or M4 comp, but it makes good power, and it's a little bit smoother in its delivery. Again, that could be traction control mitigating some wheel spin in today's conditions, but it feels fast, but it's not as raw and as hardcore and as immediate as I was expecting it to be. It's still a very smooth, progressive power delivery with a lot of torque. I do wish we had a 6-speed manual in this car, at least the availability to have one. I know that BMW wants to get the most performance out of their CS products, and typically they aren't offered in manual, but it would be nice to have that extra level of involvement, especially for the M2, which is the more involving, more engaging M car now. It's the baby M car. It's kind of about the same size as what the M3 used to be. We had this lined up next to an E46 M3 a couple years ago, and they were about the same size. Granted, this weighs a little bit more, but it puts its power down beautifully. It drives great. We have a little bit more feedback and feel between the driver and the car now, and also a lot more performance. It looks better, it drives better, it's faster. We'll push it a little bit more later today on track, so stay tuned for those videos. But until then, good first impressions on the M2 CS. It's honestly about what I was expecting, and I think BMW has achieved a nice overall package here for the money. This starting at around $100,000 seems to be pretty decent value for the performance and extra specialness that you're getting out of the car. You're getting a lot of carbon fiber. There's some options that you can check, like the carbon ceramic brakes and probably a few other things that get that sticker price up into the high 110s, 120s, but still an overall great car. And the previous generation M2 CS has held its value incredibly well. Not sure we could say the same for this generation. We'll see, time will tell, but that is a positive in that you could maybe see a bit more residual value out of this M2 CS versus other M2 options. Granted, it's going to be a little bit more difficult of a car to get your hands on. Availability will be more limited. There won't be as high production numbers here. Pardon me while I rectify my missed turn. But I think they've nailed the styling here. I love the stance, I love the way it looks, and it drives notably better than the standard M2. All good things you want out of your M2 CS. This 8-speed auto is a little bit eager to downshift sometimes. I wish it would just let me ride out the torque a bit more, but if I'm being honest, that's the type of situation I just want to lock it into manual mode. Bumpier section of road here at some lower speeds. Ride quality is firm, but not punishing. It's still got some good compliance to it. I'm actually really enjoying driving this in comfort and efficient mode. I feel like in this standard drive mode, it's a lot more engaging than the standard M2 was. Quick, the speed creeps up on you. The power delivery is so linear and the shifts are so fast. You don't realize quite how fast you're going until you look down at the speedo. I'm still not completely sold on these paddle shifters. They look cool from the front, but from the back they're just kind of covered in rubberized plastic. I would like a little bit more special of a paddle shifter feel in these BMW M products. I feel like the E92 got it about perfect. They were aluminum or metal. Great that we can still change gears here with the shifter. BMW hasn't gotten rid of that like Porsche has. drive just by pushing over to the right. All right, we are back at the Michelin Proving Grounds. Put this in park, turn it off, and walk you guys around it one more time. Stay tuned for more track footage on this M2 CS. That was a fun drive, getting to know this on the street. Now let's go push its limits and get it a little bit sideways.